Hello beautiful booktubers, I'm Becky Bookworm and I'm here today to talk about my January wrap-up. I think I read 9 books overall, including a couple of graphic novels, so I'll just get started. So the first one is Paper Girls. It's published by Image Comics and it's the second in a series. It's a graphic novel and it's about a group of young girls in the 80s who go on to do their paper rounds when strange things start happening. All of a sudden there's no adults to find and they don't know where anybody is, and there's 2 groups of people, possibly from another world, that are both saying that the other ones are evil and they're just trying to figure that out. There's some time travel involved and it's just quite exciting, so I've just read the second one to that. I'm not going to go into it in more detail because I don't want to spoil anything that isn't in the first one, but it's really good and I'm looking forward to reading the next one. Next is Call of the Undertow by Linda Cracknell. I got this as part of subscription box which is called a moth box. There were 2 books in there, Trio and Call of the Undertow. Both had themes on grief, and this one is about a lady who is a cartographer and she moves right up in the depths of Scotland, into the middle of nowhere basically, and she's dealing with some things and it's about how she interacts with people. I won't go into it any more than that. Like I said, I've done an entire review video on that, so I'll link that down below. I gave that 4 out of 5 stars because it's just wonderful. Next was an audiobook. It was Ender's Game by Orson Scott Card. This is I guess would it be YA sci-fi, I think. It's about a guy called, well, a boy even. It's about a young boy called Ender who has to go and train in this school how to play this game. Turns out he's very good at this game and he goes up and up in the ranks, even though the adults there are trying to undo him at every level. There's a lot more to it than that and it's quite complicated. I also am very wary that I don't want to spoil anything, but it's quite a good story. I found it a bit samey in places. They have to keep going to these competitions and fighting each other, and I just felt like that went on for ages. I'm wondering though if I'd actually have a different experience if I read the book rather than listen to the audiobook, because I do find when I listen to audiobooks my mind does wander a little bit. So I gave that 2 out of 5 stars. Next is one of my favourites. It's Becky Chambers, A Closed and Common Orbit. It's the sequel to A Long Way to a Small Angry Planet and it's great. It's different from the first one, but I still found it very enjoyable. There's not as many characters, but the 3, I think it focuses on 3 or 4 characters that it does focus on. I felt like they were really well written. I was really invested in what was happening. So I think it focuses on Pepper, who is a human that grew up on a slave planet. She has no body hair because she was malnourished. We get to know her story. She's mentioned in A Long Way to a Small Angry Planet, but we get to know more about her and how she got there. She takes on Lacey, who is an AI in a human-looking body. She's recently in that body, so she's trying to get to grips with that and she's trying to learn how to not be a spaceship AI and how to make relationships with people. And I just loved it. It was sad in places, it was exciting in places. It is different from A Long Way to a Small Angry Planet and I do prefer that, but I did really enjoy this as well. And I hope that she writes more in this series. She has said that she doesn't feel like she has another one in her at the moment, but I really hope she does soon. And then I read a non-fiction, which was Wildflower by Drew Barrymore. This was an autobiography and I was really excited to get it. I've liked Drew Barrymore ever since I saw her in E.T. when I was a little kid, so I was excited to read it, and I'm sad to say I was really disappointed. I found it very boring. She jumped around, it wasn't in chronological order, so she jumped around times. They were all random snippets rather than following on. I found it quite self-indulgent. She basically spends pages writing a letter to her tiny daughter. I just wasn't feeling it at all. I think I was looking for something a bit more, I want to say explosive, because she's had an exciting life and it's got her to where she is, and she does talk about some of the bits from when she was younger, but she doesn't dwell on it very much, and it was more about how grounded she is and how she wants her daughter to be well behaved, and I just wasn't feeling it at all, so I gave that 1 star out of 5. Next is a bit of retro sci-fi. It's Omnivore by Piers Anthony. This is about a group of 3 people that have been to a planet to investigate the life on there, and something has happened while they were there. I think he's a clone, basically this clone investigator who gets his memory wiped between every job, so he starts it all afresh, gets on the case and starts interviewing them one by one, and they each give a little bit more of the story to this guy. And it's about these beings that they've found when they were on this planet and how they've interacted with them and what has happened since. I found it pretty good. It was quite entertaining. I did get bored in some parts, and I thought the book dwelled a lot on how beautiful the female was. A lot. Like, it just got really boring. It's like, we get it, she's beautiful. What else is she? You know, she was a bit two-dimensional. But overall, I did find it quite enjoyable. It is part of a trilogy, so I will try and pick up the others and read those. Overall, I gave that 3 stars. Next is a sequel. It's Shift from Hugh Howey. This is the sequel to Wool. Wool is about a community of people that live in an underground silo. They live, work, everything down there. They never ever go outside because outside will kill you. And they're segregated into the mechanics, the IT, there's the medical bit, then there's the sheriff, and then there's all the people in between. So the first book is all about those. The second book is actually a prequel, and that tells you how they got there and what happened to get them in there. And it also ties in with some things that happened in the first book. The timeline actually crosses over with some things that happened in the first book, so I found that really interesting, the way he wove it together. There's one more book, and I can't remember what it's called. Dust, I want to say. So I'm going to go to my library tomorrow and see if I can get that out, because I really enjoyed Hugh Howey's writing. And I gave that 4 stars out of 5. The next couple of books I read as part of the Diverseathon. I didn't get through as many books as I wanted to because I came down with the flu not long after it started, and I was so poorly that I couldn't even read. I ended up just listening to an audiobook in bed. And that was Lumberjanes Volume 1, which was okay. It wasn't amazing. I think I've spoken about it in a previous video. I liked the whole girls for each other, build friendships, have adventures thing, but I just found the stories were too short and I wasn't invested. But I've got Volume 2, so I'm going to try that. And the other one was Nnedi Okorafor, The Book of Phoenix. What a book. This is about a young woman who has been created in a lab. She's of African descent and she is pissed off. She's been treated terribly. She's only 3 years old now, but she looks like a 40-year-old woman. She's been treated fucking awfully by the people in this lab. She has a couple of friends that are in there, but when one of them dies, which was her boyfriend Saeed, that's the end of her tether, and she starts to think about her life and what she's doing with it. And she, without giving too much away, she goes through some changes. She has special powers, and she starts growing as a person and finding herself, but also learns some really hard lessons about people and power and greed. I just found it a great book. Nnedi Okorafor is a fantastic writer, and I just really felt for Phoenix in this story. You know, you can see that power does corrupt, and it's just brilliantly written. And I've ordered, I believe this is a follow-on book to another one, and I've ordered, I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head, but I have actually ordered that one so that I can read that soon. And I gave that 4 out of 5 stars. I've had quite a good reading month really, so I've read some good books and some not so great books, but I'm looking forward to February and the books that I'll be reading. I'll be doing a TBR of those soon. I have started reading Caraval, which I'm enjoying. So if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. If you want to follow me, I'll put the links below to my Instagram and my Goodreads. Please subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and I'll be back soon with another video. Big bookish hugs. Bye!